Mexico were the hosts for the 1970 FIFA World Cup finals. For all the problems of the altitude and heat, the tournament was a feast of elegance, enterprise and attacking flair. The enormous Azteca Stadium witnessed the opening ceremony and the first game between Mexico and the Soviet Union. Despite playing a dull draw, both teams won their other two games to qualify for the later stages. The pick of the qualifying rounds was the Group 3 decider between the world champions England and the former holders Brazil. The big question was whether Alf Ramsey's men would be able to hold off the awesome firepower of the Brazilians, so clearly shown by the powerful left foot of Rivellino and the lightning-quick Jairzinho. There was one other concern for Bobby Moore's team, and that was the incomparable genius of Pelé, now appearing in his fourth finals and as brilliant as ever. England kicked off in a match many people considered to be an epic game. Early in the game, a Jairzinho cross for Pelé preempted one of the finest moments in FIFA World Cup history when Gordon Banks miraculously saved Pelé's downward header. In a possible early example of gamesmanship, England were kept waiting at the start of the second half in the blazing Mexico heat. Undeterred, Bobby Moore led by example and often put up a one-man barrier to the flow of Brazilian attacks. England's resolve finally crumbled when just after the hour Brazil made their breakthrough. Tostão giving Pelé the opportunity to pass the ball off to the predatory Jairzinho, whose unstoppable shot finally beat the great Banks to take the Brazilians into a 1-0 lead. A late miss from Jeff Astle was England's last chance to get something out of the game, but it was the Brazilians who ended up triumphant and eventual group winners, avoiding England's fate of a tricky quarter-final game with the highly tipped West Germans. In Group 2, the Italians, still hurt by the disastrous campaign of 1966, opted for a cautious game plan against Sweden, with Domegnini scoring their only goal in a 1-0 victory. The Italians went through with Uruguay, whose 2-0 defeat of Israel helped them secure a quarter-final place at the expense of both Sweden and Israel. West Germany faced Peru in Group 4 to decide the eventual winner of that group. The Peru game saw the emergence of a young German superstar in the shape of Bayern Munich's Gerd Müller, who repaid the confidence of manager Helmut Schön by scoring a hat-trick to help send Germany through to the quarter-finals as group winners and a mouth-watering game against England. The England-West Germany quarter-final was an opportunity for Franz Beckenbauer and his team to avenge their 1966 final defeat, but it was England who took the lead through Alan Mullery's powerful early goal. After Martin Peters put England further ahead with a close-range goal scored 5 minutes into the second half, England were confident that their 2-0 lead could take them through to the semi-finals. But the Germans were determined to get back into the match, and England's standing goalkeeper Peter Bonetti was unable to stop Beckenbauer's shot. England held out until 9 minutes from time, when Uwe Seeler's equaliser seemed almost inevitable as the Germans regained the initiative. Just like their epic final in 1966, the score was 2-2, and extra time would be needed, but it was the Germans who were celebrating. England's luck appeared to be out when a seemingly legitimate Jeff Hurst goal was disallowed. A close-range Gerd Müller volley caught out a sleeping English defence, sealing the game for the Germans and knocking out the world champions. Brazil and Peru's quarter-final in Guadalajara was a breathtakingly open game, with both teams determined to attack at every opportunity. The free-kick maestro Rivellino opened the scoring with a trademark unstoppable shot. Brazil then extended their lead with an opportunist goal from Tostão. Peru's Gallardo then pulled a goal back for the Peruvians with an almost identical goal to Tostão's. Just after the start of the second half, Tostão scored his second to make the score 3-1 to Brazil. Peru came back with a second goal by Cubillas, but Jairzinho finished the contest by scoring the Brazilians' fourth to send them into the semi-finals. Mexico met Italy in Toluca and surprisingly went ahead after 13 minutes, only to see the Italians equalise with this goal soon after. In the second half, the normally measured and patient Italians went all out on the attack, scoring a further 3 goals to make the final result 4-1. In the semi-finals, Brazil would face Uruguay and Italy would take on the West Germans. The Italians opened the scoring as Bonisegna's shot from the edge of the area beats Maier in the German goal. This Italian foul in the second half may have been the major turning point in the game, causing the West German talisman Beckenbauer a serious shoulder injury, with no more substitutions possible. While the players argued with the referee, Schnellinger wasted this chance to equalise, but made no such mistake in the last minute, sending the game into extra time with a typical last-minute German comeback. The Germans were exhausted, and Beckenbauer's dislocated arm was obviously causing him great distress, but they took the lead as Müller steered the ball over the line after a dreadful mix-up in the Italian defence. 4 minutes later, the Italian defender Bergnich equalised for the Italians to make it 2-2. Luigi Riva then put the Italians 3-2 ahead 5 minutes later. Only for Müller to make it 3-3 with just 10 minutes remaining. Italy's Riva had the last word though, slotting home Italy's 4th goal to make the final score 4-3 and sending Italy through to their first final since 1938. It had been a truly epic game. Brazil's semi-final against Uruguay was a strange mixture of the ugly and the beautiful, as Brazil's fantasy football crushed their old rivals. Uruguay opened the scoring with Cubillas scoring from a tough angle. Brazil had to wait until just before half-time when Clodoaldo scored this wonderful goal from a Tostão cross. Brazil piled on the pressure, and Pelé showed why he was considered the world's greatest player, almost scoring from this sublime piece of skill. Jairzinho continued his record of scoring in every game after a brilliant move aided by Pelé and Tostão. Moments from the end, Pelé laid a pass off for Rivellino to shoot the Brazilians' 3rd and final goal and put them through to the FIFA World Cup final to play Italy. Brazil entered the final as clear favourites, and the crowd were hoping that their attacking flair would win out against the Italians' dour defensive game. They were not to be disappointed. The captains were all smiles before the game, and Pelé knew this was probably his last chance to win another FIFA World Cup. The Italians, keenly aware of their unpopularity due to their negative tactics, tried to win the crowd over with flowers. Both twice previous winners of the Jules Rimet Trophy, they knew a victory for the third time would claim the prize for all time. England's Bobby Moore could only watch from the stands in admiration as Pelé, with 18 minutes gone, headed the Brazilians into the lead. But the often unreliable Brazilian defence was wholly to blame as Boninsenha was let in to take the ball past Felix and score the equaliser. The game was to stay at 1-1 until half-time, the Italians more than satisfied with their efforts at holding the Brazilians at bay. Brazil instantly went on the attack in the second half, with Pelé coming close early on. Constant Brazilian pressure paid off in the 66th minute, when Gerson beat his defender to fire an unstoppable shot past Albertozzi in the Italian goal. A foul on Pelé gave Brazil a free kick, which Pelé headed down for Jairzinho to score from close range, putting Brazil into the lead 3-1. With this goal, Jairzinho entered the record books as the only man to have scored in every round of the FIFA World Cup tournament. But it was perhaps fitting that the last goal was arguably the best goal ever seen in a final. The Brazilian captain Alberto sending a powerful right-foot shot into the Italian net, 4-1 to the Brazilians. A last-gasp effort from the Italians came to nothing. As the final whistle went, the delirious fans ran onto the pitch attempting to get souvenirs, which will be revered in places of football worship for years to come. Pelé, raised on the shoulders of fans, would never be seen playing in a FIFA World Cup ever again, but the master had more than made his mark. Brazil now had the Jules Rimet Trophy to keep, and the footballing world had probably witnessed one of the greatest FIFA World Cup teams of all time.